if you
I was going through them like, just like Disneyland. No.
go to, you don't have to go there. You go on the website for Philadelphia.
I'd like to call the April 22nd, 2025 council meeting to order and start with the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moment of silence to remember the service and sacrifices of the armed service members who protect our nation and the first responders who protect our neighborhoods.
Yeah, Council President, if I could add a moment of silence for the Powers family. They just lost their dad, Ed, firefighter in the township. His son Adam's a firefighter. His wife Diane was on the board of Ed with myself, and his other son Keith works for the township. So I'd just like to add them to the thoughts.
Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Freelander.
Here.
Councilman Sackett.
Here.
Councilman Quinn.
Here.
Councilman Brooks.
Here.
Councilwoman Noon. Here. Councilman Salberg.
Here.
Councilman Vojtovich.
Here.
Council Vice President Brooks.
Here.
Council President Morrison.
Here. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided to the Daily Record and the official newspapers for the Township of Rockaway. Notice was posted on the official bulletin boards of Rockaway Township, the Township website, and notice was filed in the office of the Township Clerk. Approval of the April 8th Township Council meeting minutes. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Freelander.
Abstain.
Councilman Sackett.
Yes.
Councilman Quinn.
Yes.
Councilman Brooks.
Yes.
Councilwoman Noon.
Yes.
Councilman Salberg.
Abstain.
Councilman Vojtovich.
Yes.
Council Vice President Brooks.
Yes.
Council President Morrison.
Yes, that's 7 yeses, 2 abstentions. Motion passes. Ordinance for introduction, O-2507, an ordinance repealing Chapter 2, Article 8, Section 2-40, entitled Citizens Recreation Committee. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Freelander.
Yes.
Councilman Sackett.
Yes.
Councilman Quinn.
Yes.
Councilman Brooks.
Abstain.
Councilwoman Noon.
Yes.
Councilman Salberg.
Yes.
Councilman Vojtovich.
Yes.
Council Vice President Brooks.
Yes.
Council President Morrison.
Yes, it's 8 yeses, 1 abstention. Motion passes. Ordinances for adoption. O-2502, an ordinance amending Chapter 54 entitled Land Use and Development of the Code of the Township of Rockaway, creating a new Section 54-30.71 entitled RMFO-12B Hospitality and Affordable Multifamily Residential Overlay District. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any council discussion on this ordinance? Is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak on this ordinance only? Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Freelander.
Yes.
Councilman Sackett.
Yes.
Councilman Quinn.
Yes.
Councilman Brooks.
Yes.
Councilwoman Noon.
Yes.
Councilman Salberg.
Yes.
Councilman Vojtovich.
Yes.
Council Vice President Brooks.
Yes.
Council President Morrison.
Yes. It's 9 yeses, motion carries. O-2504, ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any council discussion on this ordinance? Anybody from the public wishes to speak on this ordinance only? Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Freelander.
Yes.
Councilman Sackett.
Yes.
Councilman Quinn.
Yes.
Councilman Brooks.
Yes.
Councilwoman Noon.
Yes.
Councilman Salberg.
Yes.
Councilman Vojtovich.
Yes.
Council Vice President Brooks.
Yes.
Council President Morrison.
Yes. It's 9 yeses, motion carries. O-2505, an ordinance fixing the salaries of various officials and contractual employees of the Township of Rockaway and the County of Morris. Can I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Anybody from the council? Any council discussion? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this ordinance alone? Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Freelander.
Yes.
Councilman Sackett.
Yes.
Councilman Quinn.
Yes.
Councilman Brooks.
Yes.
Councilwoman Noon.
Yes.
Councilman Salberg.
Yes.
Councilman Vojtovich.
Yes.
Council Vice President Brooks.
Yes.
Council President Morrison.
Yes, it's 9 yeses, motion carries. 02506, an ordinance fixing the salaries of various officials and non-contractual employees of the Township of Rockaway in the County of Morris. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any council discussion? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this ordinance alone? Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Freelander.
Yes.
Councilman Sackett.
Yes.
Councilman Quinn.
Yes.
Councilman Brooks.
Yes.
Councilwoman Noon.
Yes.
Councilman Salberg.
Yes.
Councilman Vojtovich.
Yes.
Council Vice President Brooks.
Yes.
Council President Morrison.
Yes, it's 9 yeses, motion carries. 02508, bond ordinance appropriating $4,286,375 and authorizing the issuance of $1,821,585 bonds or notes of the township for various improvements or purposes authorized to be undertaken by the Township of Rockaway in the County of Morris, New Jersey. Can I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any council discussion? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this ordinance alone? Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Freelander.
Yes.
Councilman Sackett.
Yes.
Councilman Quinn.
Yes.
Councilman Brooks.
Yes.
Councilwoman Noon.
Yes.
Councilman Salberg.
Yes.
Councilman Vojtovich.
Yes.
Council Vice President Brooks.
Yes.
Council President Morrison.
Yes, it's 9 yeses, motion carries. 02509, bond ordinance appropriating $1,629,000 and authorizing the issuance of $1,547,550 bonds or notes of the township for various improvements or purposes authorized to be undertaken in and by the Township of Rockaway in the County of Morris, New Jersey for the water supply and distribution system of the township. Can I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any council discussion? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this ordinance alone? Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Freelander.
Yes.
Councilman Sackett.
Yes.
Councilman Quinn.
Yes.
Councilman Brooks.
Yes.
Councilwoman Noon.
Yes.
Councilman Salberg.
Yes.
Councilman Vojtovich.
Yes.
Council Vice President Brooks.
Yes.
Council President Morrison.
Yes, it's 9 yeses, motion carries. 02510, bond ordinance providing for the acquisition of a new sewer vacuum truck by the Township of Rockaway in the County of Morris, New Jersey, appropriating $564,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $535,800 bonds or notes of the township for financing such appropriation. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any council discussion? Anyone from the public wish to speak on this ordinance alone? Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Freelander.
Yes.
Councilman Sackett.
Yes.
Councilman Quinn.
Yes.
Councilman Brooks.
Yes.
Councilwoman Noon.
Yes.
Councilman Salberg.
Yes.
Councilman Vojtovich.
Yes.
Council Vice President Brooks.
Yes.
Council President Morrison.
Yes, that's 9 yeses, motion carries. 02511, an ordinance amending Chapter 3 entitled Finance and Taxation to amend Article 3.1 entitled 100% Disabled Veteran Tax Refund. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Any council discussion? Anyone from the public wish to speak on this ordinance alone? Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Freelander.
Yes.
Councilman Sackett.
Yes.
Councilman Quinn.
Yes.
Councilman Brooks.
Yes.
Councilwoman Noon.
Yes.
Councilman Salberg.
Yes.
Councilman Vojtovich.
Yes.
Council Vice President Brooks.
Yes.
Council President Morrison.
Yes, it's 9 yeses, motion carries. 02512, an ordinance amending Chapter 28 entitled Health and Environment to amend sections of Articles 3, 4, 5, 10, and 11. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any council discussion? Anyone from the public wish to speak on this ordinance alone? Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Freelander.
Yes.
Councilman Sackett.
Yes.
Councilman Quinn.
Yes.
Councilman Brooks.
Yes.
Councilwoman Noon.
Yes.
Councilman Salberg.
Yes.
Councilman Vojtovich.
Yes.
Council Vice President Brooks.
Yes.
Council President Morrison.
Yes, it's 9 yeses, motion carries. I'm sorry, and I also neglected to mention that we are going to be pulling the closed session resolution, which would come at the end of the meeting anyway, so we will not be going into closed session today. Okay, we are going to move on to the budget hearing portion of our meeting. The next part, we are going to open up to the public. Any comments on the budget? I would like to remind everybody that it is not a question and answer period. It is for comments alone. If you do have questions, please feel free to send those via email to our administration. We'll be happy to get you some answers. Before opening this public portion of the meeting, I want to remind everyone of the rules that apply to anyone who wants to address the council. Any member of the public wishing to address the council will have 3 minutes to do so. While an extension of time may be requested, it should not be assumed that an extension of time will be granted. While addressing the council, members of the public may not address or question any individual council member. If anyone addressing the council violates these rules or conducts themselves inappropriately, their speaking opportunity will be terminated and they will be instructed to return to their seat. A refusal to comply will result in removal from the room. Members of the public in attendance may not make comments from the audience without recognition by the chair. Persons doing so will be subject to removal from the room. As council president, I have tremendous respect for my fellow council members and the public who take the time and effort to attend council meetings. These rules are necessary to permit the council to do its business in an orderly and professional manner. With that, are there any members of the public that wish to speak on the budget alone?
Hello, Dr. Kelly, this is Megan's Road. Before I go, Mr. Morrison, generally, I think the resolutions in regards to the budget prior to the open to the public portion for participation of the public?
No.
Okay. Well, tonight you have a vote to vote in the budget we have here. I had asked Mr. Serenelli, what the budget's going to be right now, it's just a little over $45 million.
I'm sorry, is that mic working?
It should be.
No.
Turned off.
Okay.
Oh, my time didn't get up.
No, it's not.
It must be turned off.
I just want to make sure it's working. There we go.
Okay,
I'll start you through.
Thank you.
again.
I appreciate that. I'll just go back to the beginning of that again. Well, tonight you're up here for a vote for the 2025 budget that we have, and I had spoken to Mr. Sarnelli before and had mentioned and confirmed that it's a little over $45 million. Now, some of you, and I look at most of you, adults, professionals, jobs, homes, mortgages, preparing for college, some have already spent that money, some are doing so now for their children to come up there. And then I look at this council itself. You guys try to save money and you have needs and wants, and you guys always focus on your own personal budgets of needs, and then you deal with wants later after you have that. Some of you work multiple jobs, Mr. Morrison, and you have a lot of financial obligations. When people buy a home, they go and they spend hours and hours and weeks and even sometimes a month or so to go through the process of purchasing a home, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000. Attorneys get involved and they do all this oversight and overlooking everything that's there to see if in fact they can afford it, what their payments are going to be, and moving forward. On the 15th of March, this council assembled for a budget hearing that you had in this room itself, and you spent a little over an hour discussing a $45 million budget. Less time than somebody would do just to buy a house for $500,000. And it's interesting, in 2021, the budget was just a little over 40.3, and here we are at 40.5. And the common optics that you guys say is that, well, we have a zero increase in the municipal budget. However, it's raised almost $5 million, if not more. What I don't hear from you, because we did it in 2018 and 2019, when I was an elected official, where we actually reduced taxes. We actually cut $1.5 million out of the budget, where people's taxes, a large majority of those in Rockaway Township, went down to 2014, 2015 levels in 2018 and 2019. Mrs. Brooks, you had a reduction of $600 of your yearly assessment. Same with you, Mr. Morrison. There's an ability to do that, but I didn't see a willingness of this council to try to get it below that zero. You just stopped at zero. You didn't want to go on a lesser end of it, maybe reducing it a tax point or two, coming up with other ways to reduce operating costs, bringing other businesses that don't affect schools and whatnot. Those are things that are super concerning to many people. Now, we have seniors that have been here. They talk about being on fixed incomes. Other people themselves are moving out because they can't afford it. We had a rateable increase on a large portion of all these properties. We have 10,000 units in inventory, I believe, Mrs. Palmieri, in there, that people are now paying even more money to that, and you're still raising the taxes, and they're not getting anything additional to that. Now, your default's going to say, oh, Mr. Kelly, litigations that you have, and they cost the taxpayers money. But Mr. Morrison, you can't even show any paid invoices to validate your claim, even close to the number that you say. So there's other things that are here that are taking place. There's a lot of wants that are taking place
Sorry,
versus
your
needs.
time is up.
And I hope that you can address them with
Time's up.
tonight.
I don't want you getting excited, just, you seem like you're getting a little worked up. You can take your seat.
I wasn't getting worked up at all.
It sounded like you were there at the end.
Not at all, but I mean, you can flip the script and make something up that didn't happen, but I appreciate it.
You're the expert on that. Chief, is our AED working outside? I just want to make sure we're covered in case. Thank you. Just to bring up a couple points, of course, you know, what's brought up here is full of half-truths and self-serving comments. When Tucker was on the, the council a couple years ago and he reduced the budget, that was through gutting some of the emergency funds and things that are needed to properly run the town and put the town in a really very precarious situation. So, sure, if we want to put the town in a very precarious situation, we'll be happy to gut whatever we can, all right? However, that is not serving the community. While the budget may have gone up, again, something that he is not clear on is the tax rate has not gone up, okay? Budgets will go up. Now, a 0% tax increase in an inflationary market is technically a reduction, right? So if the budget should go up to reflect what inflation rates are over the last couple of years and we don't go up, that's a win. Okay. Yeah, I am going to bring up your lawsuits, so, and the amount of OPRAs that you file. So far this year, Tucker, you have filed, on average, one OPRA every 2 business days. Who has time for that, right? So, I know we probably have the number somewhere, but you want to talk about reducing, it's to the point where I might even recommend having a Tucker Defense Fund in our budget for the hundreds of thousands of dollars that you cost the township. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. So don't sit there and preach that you're trying to save people money. And the last piece I want to bring up, and I'll leave it at this. The reason our budget meeting did not go that long is because of the hours and hours and hours of work that this team put in ahead of the budget meeting to get their questions answered, to do their own investigations, to ask their questions, collaboration, which is how it should be done, all right? Back when you were on the council, budget meetings had to be spread over 3 days because you guys couldn't get your act together and ask legitimate questions because your game is all about gotchas. Ours is about responsibly running a budget and running a council. So before you get out there and start lecturing other people, I suggest you take a look in the mirror. Thank you, I got that out. Is there anybody else in the public that wishes to speak on the budget, please? There's going to be another open to the public portion, so this is just for budget.
I don't know if this is when I should speak or not, so I have questions about
I'm sorry,
taxes.
name and address for the record, sorry.
Sure. Erin DeCourt, 16 Algonquin Ave, Rockaway, New Jersey.
Okay.
So, bringing up the budget, I heard you say that the assessed value or the assessment percentage is not going up. I just wanted to state for the record, in 2022, my assessed value for my home, which is a 1,000 square foot, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, no garage, no basement house, was $254,000. My taxes were $6,900. 2023, my assessment went up to $284,200. My taxes went up to $7,457, an increase of $500 and change. 2024, my house then was reassessed at $304,800. My taxes then went up to $7,815. So my taxes, in a matter of,
Can you take a look at that? I'm sorry, let me just fix that microphone.
and pause my time.
Yeah, of course. Bob. Is it working? There we go, sorry about that.
So my taxes have gone up almost $1,000 between 2022 and 2024. My reassessed value that I now got for 2025 is $342,000, which is a $38,000 increase in 1 year in assessed value. So that means my taxes are going to go up significantly if we're using the same tax rate from the year before. Now, you're talking about trying to save us money or giving us all these great things in town, and I love living in Rockaway. It was a great place to raise my son. I'm more than happy to pay for taxes for the schools. It was a great school system for my kid.
You could just go ahead.
But
Can we get another battery in the meantime?
But my
Go ahead.
concern is now, I'm waiting to get my tax bill for 2025, which if it's the same tax rate is gonna be like another $700 and something. That means my taxes have gone up $1,700 from 2022 to 2025. Now, I don't know if that's for everybody in town, but I know how it's significantly affecting me.
I understand. I'm not taking more of your time. And I'll ask, I'll ask Ray, just to give me a quick blurb, but hit the buzzer because you're the expert. We're talking about the tax rate, not the assessed value of your home, right? And this is not a Rockaway thing. It's, since COVID, the values of houses have gone up dramatically. We are also, the municipal portion of your tax bill is 35%. 65% of your tax bill is from the schools, which we don't control. So we don't control that tax rate. If there's an increase in that part of your taxes, that's addressed through the Board of Education, right? So again, we make up 35, and then 27%? All right, so 27% of your tax bill is township. The rest is school system, right? And county. 27 is us. And then you have the rest.
Maybe my question is, who is assessing all this extra money on my house?
Can you speak to that real quick? All right, thanks. So, Ray Sarnelli is our town auditor.
Okay, so the process of assessing taxes is incredibly complicated. In general, what this township chooses to do is to try and keep the assessed value as accurate to market as possible by doing what's called a revaluation every year. So each year, the entire town is revalued to keep the market rates equal to the assessed value. That change in that value does not alone affect your taxes. A rate is then applied to that. So as the assessed value increases, Rockaway Township's portion, which has stayed the same, the rate actually decreases, so that when you multiply the assessed value times the rate, you're coming to a very similar tax levy. So the assessment is done by an assessment firm independent of Rockaway Township.
Yeah, I know how it's done. My ex-husband's a tax assessor for Maplewood.
Okay.
So I know how it's done.
Right.
But I know my mom, who lives in Fox Ridge, she could get $500,000 for her apartment. Her house is assessed $20,000 more than mine. So I don't know where this 100% reassessment is coming from. I know my home, I have had $80-something thousand added on in 4 years of my assessment that I am paying taxes on.
Right. So what it is.
I don't know what this firm thinks they're doing or whatever, but it's not fair to single family. I'm a single mom with one income.
But the change in the value of your home is not changing the taxes that are being assigned to it from the township.
So how did my taxes go up by $1,000?
The school and the county taxes are increasing.
So the town assessment has nothing to do with my taxes that I pay.
I mean, they are, your assessment is multiplied by the rate, but your assessed value changing doesn't change what tax is collected. Only the levy of the school, the county, and the municipality multiplied against that assessed value affect what you pay. In this particular case, the township's levy is not changing, just your assessed value is, the rate is going down and they're collecting the same amount. So your actual payment to the town for municipal taxes is not changing.
So, but am I not paying the school, and I'm sorry if I'm.
No, this is,
Am I not paying more money for the school because my
hold on, am I not paying more taxes because your assessed value is going up?
Yes.
No, you're not paying more money because the assessed value of your home is changing. No. You're paying more money because they're asking for a tax increase from the school and the county,
But it's not the town.
not the town.
Okay. That's why when the mayor says it's a zero increase, it's not,
Right.
The
but again,
assessment,
it's not coming from us.
the assessment on your house is the same that the assessment is changing across 100% of the township. Every town, or every house, every business, everybody who pays taxes to Rockaway Township, their assessed value is changing
You're
every
telling me
year.
everyone in Rockaway has had their taxes increased by at least $1,000 over a 3-year time span, and it's about to go up again? That I'm not unique, is what you're saying.
Right, yes, correct.
And nobody
All of our
else
taxes
seems
have gone
to be
up.
upset about this.
It's not that you're not upset. Of course, nobody likes the taxes,
We all
but
live in New Jersey.
we all pay it. You know, we all live in Rockaway, you know, and I mean, granted, I mean, I have 4 kids in the school system, but it's not any better I mean, it's Morris County. Do you know what I'm saying? It's what it costs to live here.
Well, you expect your taxes to go up two to maybe $400 a year at the most, not averaging $500 a year.
And we are completely in agreement with that, and that's why we did not raise the taxes. We're with you. We did not raise the taxes.
Okay. I appreciate your time and the explanation.
I think it was a very good discussion. Thank you. Anybody else from the public wish to speak on the budget? Okay. And for the last time with the budget, I'm going to tell everybody again, thank you for all the work that you put in, administration, Lisa, all the hours that you put in, above and beyond the declared 1 hour that we spent during the actual meeting. Thank you. All right. Resolution to read the 2025 operating budget by title, R2570. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Freelander.
Yes.
Councilman Sackett.
Yes.
Councilman Quinn.
Yes.
Councilman Brooks.
Yes.
Councilwoman Noon.
Yes.
Councilman Salberg.
Yes.
Councilman Vojtovich.
Yes.
Council Vice President Brooks.
Yes.
Council President Morrison.
Yes, it's 9 yeses, motion carries. R2571, resolution to adopt the 2025 municipal budget of the Township of Rockaway in the County of Morris. Be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Rockaway, County of Morris, that the 2025 budget herein before set forth is hereby adopted and shall constitute an appropriation for the purposes stated of the sums therein set forth as appropriations and authorization of the amount of $30,533,753 for municipal purposes, $426,373.16 for open space, recreation, farmland, and historic preservation trust fund levy, and $2,095,935.66 for minimum library tax. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Freelander.
Yes.
Councilman Sackett.
Yes.
Councilman Quinn.
Yes.
Councilman Brooks.
Yes.
Councilwoman Noon.
Yes.
Councilman Salberg.
Yes.
Councilman Vojtovich.
Yes.
Council Vice President Brooks.
Yes.
Council President Morrison.
Yes, it's 9 yeses, motion carries. Ms. Palmieri, you're done until next year.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Consent agenda.
Council President,
Yes.
I'd like to pull R2572 for discussion before reading them off.
Okay. Consent agenda, items R2573 up to and including R2588 and R2590, R2591, R2592. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Freelander.
Yes.
Councilman Sackett.
Yes.
Councilman Quinn.
Yes.
Councilman Brooks.
Yes.
Councilwoman Noon.
Yes.
Councilman Salberg.
Yes.
Councilman Vojtovich.
Yes.
Council Vice President Brooks.
Yes.
Council President Morrison.
Yes, it's 9 yeses, motion carries. Opening up discussion on R2572, Councilman.
Yes, question for the administration. Resolution establishing sanitary sewer maintenance fee for single-family residential dwellings. Question, is this to be assessed on all homes in Rockaway Township or just those that are connected to the sewer system?
Just those that are connected to the sewer.
Okay, is that specifically stated?
It's the sewer maintenance for single-family dwellings that are connected to the sanitary sewer system.
That are connected to? Just want that clarified. Thank you.
Any other council discussion?
Yes, is that last year we were 265, is that going up to
No.
320? What was last year's rate?
I believe it was 290,
295?
295.
And where did we come up with the increase on that? How do you
So
calculate that?
I needed to increase it for the sewer jetback that we're looking to purchase this year, as well as, just inflation. And I believe we are still well within, we're competitive with the surrounding towns. I gave a little chart on a memo, and I hope you were provided with that to show that Rockaway is very competitive compared to our surrounding towns.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Any other council discussion? Okay, make a motion for R2572. Can I have a second?
Second.
Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilman Freelander.
Yes.
Councilman Sackett.
Yes.
Councilman Quinn.
Yes.
Councilman Brooks.
Yes.
Councilwoman Noon.
Yes.
Councilman Salberg.
Yes.
Councilman Vojtovich.
Yes.
Council Vice President Brooks.
Yes.
Council President Morrison.
Yes, it's 9 yeses, motion carries.
Council President, I just wanted to, real quick, if I can
Yeah.
interject, since we're talking about the resolutions, I want to point out R 2590, the shared services agreement with the Mine Hill Court in Rockaway Township. I wanted to point out, Rich, our court administrator, worked with Brian Cower, and that shared services agreement increased 50%. So it was they did a really good financial analysis, and it's bringing in a decent amount of revenue to the township now, so it was a very good job of them. I wanted to highlight that since you just approved it.
Nice, thank you. Okay, we're going back to open to the public for anything non-budget related. The same statement applies regarding rules surrounding addressing the council. Ms. DeCourt, you were on here, was that, you're satisfied? Okay, is there anybody else in the public that did not sign the sheet that wishes to speak? Yes, ma'am. Did you raise your hand? You can go.
Go ahead, Ms. Stegman.
Okay, who else was? Go ahead.
Pat Degnan, 88 Valley View Drive. It really relates to the budget, but I think it's something that most residents don't realize, that when a company files a tax appeal, the township winds up being responsible to pay back if they win a tax appeal. The portion that they paid in school taxes does not come back from the school, and that's really something we ought to see if we can work out and get the school to give back if they wind up winning a tax appeal. I think it's something that most residents don't realize, and we've had a number of tax appeals in the past, and the township winds up being responsible for that. So that's something to think about.
Good point. Ms. Palmieri, is that something we can discuss? Not right now, I'm saying.
Yeah, we can discuss it.
All right, thank you. Ma'am? You can record as long as you get my good side.
Okay, I like to record myself because since
I'm sorry, just name and address.
Gwendolyn Franklin, 202 Cleveland Lane, I'm recording myself because I called to ask for a copy of the last April 8th video and a copy of what was said and what work you spoke about, and they said the camera was broke. They did not record anything.
That is correct. Unfortunately, there was an issue with the camera. Keep in mind, the camera is not a requirement. It's something that we do, for lack of a better term. I don't want to say as a courtesy. It's just something that we choose to do, but it's not required.
So was this the first time the camera broke?
No, it's we went through and there was some kind of maintenance Ms. Palmieri explained it before, there was a hardware something, I don't know, but they redid it. And I was talking with one of the other council members, and we're talking about an upgrade to the system. But it has happened before.
Okay, so I want to just do a summary of what I said last April 8th, 2025.
Yep.
To the town council and to the administration in reference to, I've made over 38 police reports, over 100 phone calls saying that someone is stalking me. Someone is coming in my condo every single day. They take my mail. I'm not receiving mail. When I do receive it, it's way backdated. But it seems like no one is interested in doing an investigation. So is this part of like a senior citizen that is disabled, which I have a disability with my hands, that you corner them because nothing's being investigated, nothing can move forward? With no investigation, I can't even file an insurance report. I can't do anything. And you know the perpetrator, Army Sergeant, his qualifications and training is Q25 and 25E, and nothing has been done. And you wonder why the taxes are high? Is it because of no one doing investigations and things being failed, and then it's an incident that happens that costs the township a lot of money? I'm not sure. But I still haven't received the call. I have not received any answers to what I said. So I think it's falling on deaf ears, correct? And now the meeting I had and spoke about all these incidents, happily, the machine broke. Gwen Franklin, nothing.
Anybody else from the public?
Hello again, Mr. Morrison. Tucker Kelly, 16 Megan's Road. Just to follow up on the comment that you made when we were talking about the budget before, and I'm sure that you're aware, Mr. Morrison, at the end of every year, the auditor that just left, Mr. Serinelli, who's the same auditor at the time in 18 and 19, they do reports on the budget and whatnot. And there was no reckless cuts. There was no loss of services. As a matter of fact, it was very complimentary of how much money we were able to reduce that was actually a savings for the taxpayers. Not only was that 18, but it was also 19. But in those reports, even up to where they're at now, there were suggestions about collecting that $650,000 from the sewer assessment in Bobbyville that Mr. Quinn didn't pay, and you guys waived that money collection. It was almost 2 points. And then don't forget about the comptroller report about the $4.5 million that was a double expenditure on health benefits that was paid by a member of your administration. And not only that, there was other monies that were bond ordinances that were thrown into the reserves that our state of New Jersey comptroller recommended to give back to the taxpayers. We're talking millions of dollars that are there. And again, I've said to you before, because of your default end of it, you always go back to saying litigation. And I plead with you, because I have to make Oprah requests to get information, because you're not willing to give it to me, to get those documents of invoices, accountability, or political documents. Why don't you provide all those invoices that you're saying accumulate to all this money that was being spent? You have access to it.
Because it's a legal requirement that you file an Oprah. That's it.
No, it's not. See, Oprah, you're wrong about that. Under 47-1A, there is no requirement for Oprah. It's because you're not willing to give the documents that force us, the member of the public, to make that request. It's that simple. And now, the other thing is, Mr. Jackson had made a mention about the court. What was the new contract? Because you couldn't see it online. How much is the court going to be paying now?
We're not discussing individual contracts. I said this is not a question and answer period.
Well, you're answering everybody else's questions before.
They were relevant questions that I had the answers to at the moment. Obviously, I don't.
Well, you just voted on a contract. You don't know the amount of money that
Do
you're
you
going to
think I happen to remember the line item of every single thing in the budget off the top of my head? Seriously?
No, it's a contract you just voted on for the Mine Hill Court.
Again.
You don't know the number?
Do you think I would have it at the top of my head?
Yes, because you voted on it.
Well, you're wrong.
You don't know what the actual amount is for a contract that you just agreed upon?
For the fourth time, I don't have it on the top of my head, all right? And even if I did, I don't answer to you.
Okay. So let's just say it's $100,000 and it was originally $70,000 or $80,000. I don't see the 50% increase. And interesting enough, when Mine Hill was in Dover, they were paying $100,000 10 years ago for the same services they're getting now. So are we trying to recruit the losses that we didn't bill them correctly in the multiple years that Mine Hill was having court with us here for the increase to cover that loss?
Again, it's not a question and answer period, and you could be pulling these numbers out of anywhere, all right?
I'm not.
Everybody, listen.
I'm not.
Okay.
If you disagree with me, you can easily find it through Dover, contact Mr. Morrison, or maybe know the information before you vote
Please
on
sit
that
down.
resolution.
Please sit down. Again, half-truths and conspiracy theories. Okay, we are going to move on. I'm sorry, is there anybody else in the public? Okay. We are going to move on to reports. You know what, I think, do we want to start with, defer to Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
Thank you, Council President. I do want to talk about something before I get into my report. I think many of you are aware of the recent litigation by Mr. Tucker Kelly, his latest litigation against the township clerk. I want to paint a picture for people that are watching this and that are here, right? You start a job, you're learning the job. Any job you start, a new job, you learn. There's things you have to learn, and you get a new task. And this new task is very important, it's very complicated, and you're learning it. You can put that out now. And as you're learning it, somebody shows up to your workplace, right? And somebody shows up to your workplace that doesn't work there and starts antagonizing you. And many of you have seen the picture on Facebook, right? There's been a Facebook post out there, and I thought it'd be a good visual for people watching. So this guy shows up to your workplace and starts telling you you're doing your job wrong, starts accusing you of committing fraud, starts, making false accusations in an angry, harassing manner, as you can see in that picture. It's right there. And so you might ask, why do we have that picture? Well, that's a still frame from a police body cam. So that might make you ask, why do we have a still frame from a police body camera? Because Tucker Kelly called the police because he had concerns and asked them to send somebody upstairs. And I don't know, Council President, might put it in context if you could play the audio of his call to dispatch.
Rockaway Township Police.
Hey, Doc, it's Tucker Kelly. How are you?
Okay.
Hey, can you send an officer up here to the clerk's counter?
Okay.
I have a concern. There's documents that are going to be signed after the fact, and I have Councilwoman Brooks here who's going to sign the document that Mrs. Wadley contacted her. So, if you could you just send a police officer up here?
Okay, we'll get somebody up there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
So to put it in perspective, right, we have officers out patrolling, protecting the public, and now we have to pull somebody in because Tucker has concerns about documents being signed. That's what our clerks had to go through for a 2-week period, okay, over and over again, sitting in the office sometimes for hours asking for copies, calling people sitting at their desks and saying, hey, can you go knock on the clerk's door and find out if she's done. It's unbelievable, it's unfathomable to me that we took cops off the street to do that. It's unfathomable to me that somebody who's trying to do their job is being accosted and being accused of fraud and committing illegal activities. What I will say is that the case got dismissed by the judge. None of his claims were found to be accurate. And I will say this, I've seen the bills. For the past 3 years, Tucker has sued the clerk in Rockaway Township. I think they've been 3 different clerks. It might have just been 2 different clerks. He also, the year before, filed a civil rights lawsuit against me and former Mayor Puzio. And I can tell you that the legal fees are in excess of $100,000 for those lawsuits. So to sit here and condemn the council for what they're doing and condemn the administration, it's just unfathomable to me. And I don't think it's fair to create a hostile work environment for employees of the township. They're trying to do their job, and I'd like to commend Lisa and Adele for doing their jobs in such adverse conditions and doing it. Their job is really to serve the public, everybody here is, but they're really the face of it, and I can tell you, I get so many compliments in all the weddings I do, about them in particular. So I just think it's a shame they had to go through that, and I think it's, people should pay attention to this and really see what he's about, because it's not about doing anything good for the township, from what I could see. I wanted to go through my report, so we had the, Town Square Easter egg.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
I just want to point out that the lawsuit that was filed, speaking of Tucker's love for senior citizens, there was, 5 seniors on there, and including suing a 95-year-old resident who was trying to serve her community. That's who he sued.
Yeah.
My
Well,
side.
and let's be clear, they were sued because they support me and for no other reason.
Right, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I'm going to go through my
he's
report.
going to finish, and then I'll
okay?
come back.
So,
Well, then we're going to do council, and then.
Town Square Village is a great community over there. They do an Easter egg hunt every year. Very nice. They're doing a lot of work over there too, fixing some retaining walls. Had the Substance Abuse Alliance Committee meeting last week. Manny, you skipped it because you're in Italy or something like that, right? Yeah. We had the Easter flower sale at the Legion, and they got some events coming up there too. We got some nice flowers there. The Mount Hope shredding event, the fire department does that as a service to the community. And one of the things I thought was pretty cool, you got, your senior firefighters that are there, like Mr. Elko, Mr. Govern, all those. But there were a lot of younger firefighters there, so that was encouraging to see. And by the way, they were all the ones on the street directing traffic. Done 5 weddings since the last meeting. Got some really good feedback from the public on some township services. Another nice email on Dial-A-Ride. I wanted to read this one. On Sunday, I sent an email regarding potholes at the top of Richard Meyer Road and Mount Hope. I requested they be filled. To my amazement, they were completed yesterday, and this was on Tuesday. I want to thank whoever's responsible, and that's Al North and his crew, for the very prompt attention to this matter. It renewed my faith in local government. Happy Easter. So I thought that was a really good email, and great feedback for Al and his team. I'd like to point out that April is National Safe Digging Month. So keep that in mind whenever you are doing any work where you're digging in the ground. You should call 811 and get all, I think it's free, and get all your utilities checked. So that's my report for tonight.
Mr. Yatrofano?
Thank you, Council President.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to, as requested by the mayor, address the lawsuit that was filed, what happened, etc. The lawsuit was commenced by an order to show cause and a verified complaint, where various irregularities were charged in the election processing, the petition processing against our clerk. And in addition to these technical irregularities, which the court found they were, there was the allegation of criminal fraud brought against the clerk, which is an extremely serious crime. The following were the defendants in the lawsuit. There was, of course, Adele Wadley, in her official capacity as Rockaway Township Clerk, and the following individuals: Rachel Brooks, Douglas Brooks, Mary Noon, John, also better known as Jack Quinn, Frank Jekyll, County Committee candidate, Lillian Sweet, the 95-year-old you were talking about, Kimberly Brooks, Douglas Brooks, Suzanne Jackson, and if I repeat somebody's name, as you guys I'm sure know, but the public probably doesn't know why. Some of the offices were for council, some of the offices were for the Republican County Committee, and that was just the way it's done. They're separate petition processes. So we left off with Suzanne Jackson, then we had Mary Noon again for County Committee, Jack Quinn again for County Committee, Laura Chavella for County Committee, Kathy Quinn for County Committee, and Joe Jackson for County Committee. My firm as Rockaway Township Attorneys represented solely Adele Wadley. As our municipal clerk, the other defendants were collectively represented by an attorney, John Coyle, who was paid out of the coffers of the Morris County Republican Committee. So, we were given 2 days to respond to this lawsuit, and the hearing was on April 15th before Judge Stuart Minkowitz, who is the, as I like to call him, boss judge of Morris and Sussex counties, more properly known as the assignment judge. Okay. I'm not going to go through the whole litigation. We don't have the time for it. But I'm just going to focus on one paragraph which encapsulates the legitimacy of the lawsuit to begin with. This is from the judge's 17-page opinion, if you count the order dismissing the lawsuit. It is well settled that the legislature intended New Jersey election laws to be liberally construed to allow the greatest scope for public participation in the electoral process, to allow candidates to get on the ballot, to allow parties to put their candidates on the ballot, and, most importantly, to allow the voters a choice on Election Day. A case is cited, and I'll refer to that case in a minute. It has long been the public policy of New Jersey that election laws must be liberally construed to effectuate the overriding public policy in favor of public participation in the election process. And there's another case cite. I won't bother you with the case cites. What I will bother you with is the dates of those respective cases. One from the New Jersey Supreme Court in 1990, and another from the Appellate Division of Superior Court in 2000. So this is not new law. This is not some miracle that was created just because somebody felt sorry for some minor technical election or petition processing things that went on in Rockaway Township. This was law that anybody challenging what occurred with respect to this election should have known about. What does that tell you about the motivation? Now, on a brighter note, there were two people who were really responsible for this. I'd be happy to put on my spats and, the fancy lawyer outfit, but the simple fact that we would not be where we are in terms of achieving an overwhelming victory in this case if it wasn't for Adele Wadley and Lisa Caruso, okay? In addition to enduring more than 2 weeks of in-your-face conduct by the plaintiff, these two women worked like dogs to cooperate with me, to collate data, to provide sworn testimony to the court in the form of certifications. It was not easy. I don't know that either one of them, well, I do know that neither of them had ever been named as defendants in a lawsuit. Of course, Lisa wasn't named as a defendant. Adele had that honor, okay? But it probably is not appropriate, but I wish they could both be here tonight, but I'm sure Adele will tell Lisa about it if she's not watching on the TV. If it was appropriate, they deserve a standing ovation and thanks from the council and the administration for what they did. And they certainly have my personal thanks. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Wadley. One could even consider that lawsuit to be attempted voter suppression by trying to eliminate people off the ballot. So, okay, let's do it backwards. We'll go to Ms. Palmieri.
Thank you. I don't have a report, but thank you for your support with the budget. I do appreciate it.
Get to work on next year.
I will.
Ms. Ferrante.
Just briefly, we've got 3 active construction sites going on right now, and that's at Richard Street, down in the Birchwood section, then the utility building in White Meadow Lake, and then Telemark Park on the northern section. Moving along well, and just bear with us while we get through the construction phase.
Thank you. Mr. Tabbitt.
Thank you, Council President. Two items. First, very quickly, just a reminder, the Township Spring Cleanup Day is May 10th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. I mentioned it at the last council meeting. People can register by May 7th to participate. Just to reach out to Kara Selena-Wyberth, our Chief Environmental Health Specialist at the Division of Health, or anybody there for that matter. The second item I wanted to mention, just to take a moment, we have in about 3 weeks' time, maybe a few days further, the Gypsy Moth Suppression Program. This town in 2016 and 2017 participated in the program. It's a cooperative program with the New Jersey Department of Agriculture and the U.S. Department of the Forestry. And it involves a biological pesticide of very low risk, one called Bacillus thuringiensis. It's a part of integrated pest management, and it's very low on the risk scale. And there's a small part of the town that's going to be involved in this, the very northern part of the town near Green Pond. So on or around May 15th, probably over just a couple of hours in the morning, with a 1 hour break between 7:30 and 8:30 a.m., a biplane or some kind of plane from South Jersey in cooperation with the State Department of Agriculture. It's going to be timed based on the growth of leaves on trees and also the life cycle of the gypsy moth, but probably around May 15th, a plane will come over and spend a couple of hours and it'll be done. It'll probably happen in the early morning. Division of Health staff will be out on the roads to make sure that nobody is unnecessarily outside. We get out at 5:30 in the morning for this event when we've done it before, and we'll have a few people out there, myself included. It involves 293 acres, so it's about half the size of past treatments and about half the budget that we had to dedicate to it before. This council a couple of months ago did devote a resolution to adjusting the budget for this, and last council meeting, a resolution was passed declaring the gypsy moth a public nuisance, so everything's been taken care of. Again, primarily sections of Green Pond are involved, limited portions of Green Pond Road, Lake End Road, Old Lake End Road, Jacobs Road, and a few smaller roads in the Green Pond area. This information is available in Division of Health for any member of the public that wants to look at it, as well as a map that the state developed showing where those treatment sections are. In addition, many notifications have been provided and will be provided by the Division of Health. Our township website, through the Division of Health, you can find a copy of the map showing the treatment areas. You can also find a press release that I put up there. The school districts will be notified. I've already had several correspondences in writing and verbally with Dr. Corbett and Megan Slam of the Rockaway Township Board of Education, and also with Nicholas Norcia and Gail Libby, who's the administrator for the Morris Hills Regional District. Required correspondence and also just good conversations about how to effectively do this. Newspapers have been notified. April 9th, there was a legal ad in the Daily Record. April 16th, there was a larger display ad in the Citizen. On April 24th, this week, the Daily Record will have a display ad, and on May 7th, the Citizen will have a larger display ad. So we're doing the required publications and notifications for the public. We also, by April 24th, will notify the adjacent municipalities and school districts per state regulations, and letters will go out to every resident in the identified areas by May 5th. So we already have the labels printed, the letters, but we are obligated to send it out during a particular period of time. So, like I said, anybody from the public or the governing body, for that matter, can come to the Division of Health or just go to the website and check out the map or information, and I'm happy to answer any questions. We'll do rave alerts the day before and the day of the treatments, but we're not going to know what that day is until the state calls us, which is usually 1 or 2 days in advance, not much notice, because, again, it depends on a few factors, including weather. If there's precipitation or wind, then they might call it off for a day. So that's all I had to report, but just wanted to put some information out there in case anybody was interested. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief?
Thank you, Council President. Just a reminder, this year we do have, for the first time, the Junior Police Academy. Registration will be available via the website and social media. So just look for that. That's going to be 5th grade through 8th grade, July 7th through the 11th. It will be drop-off of 7:45 a.m., and it will be a pickup at 2:30 in the afternoon. So we look forward to that. Also, just after the meeting we had last time, I was able to speak with some of the residents in reference to some of the issues in the traffic that was going on, in particular Richard Mine Road. So we were able to make some very quick adjustments after the meeting at some of the suggestions that were made. So on top of that, just to let everybody know, in all of the areas, different areas throughout town that we've had different meetings on, or different commentary or emails about The officers have been out there again. There's been, since the beginning of April, I normally do this each month, but since the beginning of April, there have been 81 motor vehicle crashes. There have been 433 motor vehicle encounters. Officers have increased their radar and traffic enforcement to 75 in those areas, and they have a total summons in those affected areas that we've had very specific concerns about. They've issued 64 summonses in those areas. I'd also like to announce that Saturday at Walmart, there's a DEA drug take-back in the Walmart, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and also we look forward to the Spring Festival at the library this weekend as well.
Okay. Councilman Quinn.
Thank you. Peterson Field, this is the time of the year, all the spring sports are going. You know, the money we spent for Peterson is amazing. These children are really taking a lot of use out of it. The basketball court is crowded every day. Tennis and pickleball is crowded every day. And Peterson Turf Field is crowded all the time. It's amazing. I went by, lacrosse was out there. There was cars all over the place. This is what the town did. And, you know, it's a great thing for Peterson Field and the town. The kids are really enjoying it. They had off last week because schools were out. That field was full of kids. It kept them off the streets, out of trouble, and they played. It was great. My grandkids were all over there. I want to thank the mayor and his wife for stopping by the Dial-A-Ride luncheon. The mayor had a chance to talk with some of the Dial-A-Ride residents, and he committed to having us get out to different places because some of the people said that it's a little too pricey at some of these places, and we're looking at getting a better bang for our buck, and the mayor's getting Shannon involved, and we're going to have a list, and it's going to really perpetuate this thing for Dial-A-Ride. It's a social event. It's much better than constantly talking about how sick they are or anything else. All right. Also, I wanted to talk about, let's see.
Hey, Councilman Quinn, if I can interrupt you real quick. So next week, there'll be a flyer on the Dial-A-Ride buses. They'll be handed out asking, what other places you would like to go to with some suggestions. Dave Dyer and I met with the Dial-A-Ride drivers last Thursday morning. They gave their feedback on some areas they thought that some of the residents would like to go to. So that's all underway. So
thank you. And then the planning board, we have a meeting on Monday night. So, and as far as the rec committee, there is no more, so I can't even discuss that one. So, moving on. Thank you.
Councilman Sackett.
I have no report, thank you.
Councilman Sullivan.
Thank you. Nothing really to report on county commissioners meeting. It was very abbreviated, but next one scheduled for tomorrow night. One thing I'd point out regarding the Open Space Trust Fund, it was about a year and a half in the making, and they just rolled it out on the Morris County NJ.gov website. A fully interactive map and informational site. Really, it's a wonderful thing, especially if you'd like to visit some of the properties that have been purchased. It's an interactive map where you can see the history, the historical significance of the purchased properties, available trails, recreation opportunities, and you can literally follow a timeline right through Morris County. And of course, the early days of some of the purchases were primarily in the Rockaway Township area. So I really recommend you take a look at it. It's morriscountynj.gov/departments/open space preservation. It's actually really nice, and they're very proud of it. That's about all I have to report. I should just mention, last week, I wasn't at the meeting. So in a way, Rockaway was in Washington DC. The HCMA had their day on the Hill, and we went down there. We spoke to about 170 members of Congress, primarily talking about health issues, the quality of generic drugs being imported, and red, blue didn't matter. It was it was a very positive meeting. Met with several senators as well, and so in a way, Rockaway Township kind of had their impact on the Hill last week. So that's all I have.
Nice job. Councilman Vojtovich.
Yeah, on April 16th, I attended the Morris County League of Municipalities, and the main speaker there was Morris County Prosecutor Robert Carroll, and he spoke mainly about car thefts and burglaries, home burglaries that have been throughout the state and in this county. But he did report that for the last three years, car thefts and home burglaries have been trending down, especially Morris County. And he thanked the local police departments cooperating with them. Great job with working with the county. He credited the local municipalities, for those numbers trending down. He also stated that he suspects that burglaries probably will or should continue to go down because Senator Bucco was a sponsor of a new law that enhanced some home burglaries. That's all I have on for the Morris County League of Municipalities. I know the administration went first, but I'd like to get an update if we can on the grant writer, because I know there's certain, timelines, we might be missing out on some grants. And then one last thing to this lady in the front that's recording about the mail theft, right? The chief could correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the second time we talk about mail theft. I think that's within the jurisdiction of the postal police, so they might be able to help you out with that one. Right, Chief? I think it's within their purview. Thank you.
I can give a quick update on the grant writing. We did receive two proposals. I believe I mentioned that last meeting. We are going with a particular firm that is actually offering us like on a per diem basis. So it's going to save us a little bit of money. We can stay within the budget that we approved on the $20,000 that we put together, and we're going to be securing that very shortly.
Councilman Friedlander.
Well, I was able to make a meeting last night at the library. Just two quick things. We're in the second phase of the grant for the Hibernia section of the library for the restoration of the outside. So we're in good shape for that. And just a quick reminder that this Sunday, like the chief said, is the festival for the library in the parking lot in front of the library. And the plan, everybody should be there. It's going to be amazing this year. 12 to 4. But we'll accept people to come early and help. But that's it. I was away, and just want to say shout out to my wife for 50 years. That's why I wasn't here. Thank you.
Councilman Brooks.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to thank the road department and Al for fixing the corner of Mount Hope Road and Richard Mine Road. The potholes from everybody trying to make that turn really quickly so thank you for fixing that. The other thing for Ms. Ferranti, do our construction sites have cameras on them for when we're not working, because of a lot of theft that happens at construction sites? So I wanted to see if, those sites had cameras on them, or maybe we think about, especially the ones that we're doing our projects on.
So the one that does have materials on it does have cameras.
Okay.
The contractor is responsible for securing the materials and equipment on the site, and they have installed cameras.
Okay, great. That's important. With me being on construction sites a lot, it's a good thing to have them there, not only for the safety aspect, but also for the security aspect. Other than that, that is all I have.
Councilwoman Noon.
I just had a question for Ms. Ferrante. The Richard Street project, when is the projected end date for that?
The contract is for 60 days. So I think we're about 20 days in.
Okay.
We had a little bit of rain delay in the beginning, so just bear with us. Again,
Yeah, I know.
The
Okay.
Street is requiring improvements, so it is temporary, and then we'll be out of your hair, out of the neighborhood. You know,
And
as quickly, believe me, I want to get them out of town as quickly as possible.
And I could tell you, as we get concerns or whatever, we're funneling them to her and to Allison and Mahmoud, and they're heading out there daily and addressing everybody's concerns. I know that.
Yeah, because I did go by and Harold Lane was bad. That one was bad. So, all right, June, 60 days, okay.
Council Vice President?
I just have the advertised budget for the school district is on their website. It's rocktwp.net. They're having a public hearing in the Copeland cafeteria next Wednesday, the 30th. It says at 5:30, but the public session will begin at 7:30. And they are conducting a hearing for their adoption of their 25-26 budget. So if anyone is interested as well, please attend, and you actually can link a hyperlink to see their proposal also on the website. That's all I have.
Thank you. And I think everybody's heard enough from me tonight. Make a motion to adjourn by consensus. All in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Very good, Lisa.
Nice job, Pete. Nice job, Al.